All right, coaches, today we're going to be talking about Finland, a fascinating basketball country to me. Finland tends to produce multi-positional wings and skilled forwards, but guards tend to emerge a lot less frequently. So I want to kind of get into why that is. Today I'm going to be talking about how to properly evaluate Finnish guards through one of the rising prospects, Eetu Heinonen, who's now playing in Spain for Gran Canaria. And then I also want to compare his early season film with reference points from Miro Little at Utah and Elmeri Abbey, who is another Finnish guard who's also committed to Utah after his Eurobasket, the U20 performance over the summer. I'm just going to be breaking down how I evaluate decision speed, shooting volume, and adaptability against length, which are obviously going to be key traits for projecting Finnish guards to the college level. All right, so first we want to identify sequences where the ball handler creates the first advantage, then reads the low man without a reset. The film is less about usage and more about how quickly the player can move the ball to a high-value shot once a rotation starts. That includes examples where there's no screen at all, like this one where Heinonen attacks open space and gets a shot up before the help arrives. On this play, he shows good penetration and vision when he encounters size in the paint, and then he's able to find the open man on the wing. Here the defender hedges the screen, but Heinonen attacks the nail before making the right read to the corner. His opponent in this game mostly blitzed, and Heinonen handled it pretty well, finding the roller before his man is able to recover. But here we do see a mistake as Heinonen's teammate slips the screen. He rushes his pass against the blitz, which gets deflected out of bounds. So he should have made a lob pass that leads his teammate to the basket, or at least try to make a skip pass to the opposite corner for the open three. I really like this move off the pick and pop. Heinonen gets really good penetration and draws 4 defenders around him before kicking it out for a high-value shot. In transition, the 3-on-2, Heinonen makes the simple and correct pass for the assist. I mentioned three-point shooting volume in the intro. Now, the difference between a rotation spacer and a developmental bet often traces back to attempts rather than just isolated makes, right? We're not just looking at the isolated makes. It's easier to evaluate if a guard can get his shot off against a faster, longer athlete in the States when he's playing in a competition like Spain's Liga U22, but you can also map this in international competitions as well. It's just a little bit harder to do it with Finland's domestic leagues. So now that we've seen how Heinonen looks in his decision-making, adaptability against length, and the shot volume, let's try and take a look at some of the comps who have already established their ability to play at the Power 6 level. First, we have Elmeri Abbey, who averaged 13 points and 7 assists per game over that FIBA U20 Eurobasket this summer and has committed to play for Utah in the Big 12. Abbey is a much more fluid athlete and just a really smooth scorer, and he uses that quickness to create advantages in the screen game. He also handles the blitz really well and makes the right decision to find the open man. One thing I wanted to mention real quick about Finnish guards, I kind of neglected to talk about earlier, is that they're coached to execute off-ball movements. Even when the ball is in the post, because their bigs are always keeping their eyes up, Heinonen also makes the right cut as his teammate is dribbling toward him in the corner. Miro Little played last season at Utah. I think he transferred somewhere in California, but he played pretty well at Utah, showed that he's adept at reading different defensive approaches to the PNR. Little is an exceptional shooter with a quick catch-and-shoot release. On this last play, he reads the rotation really well and hits the open man in the corner who makes the extra pass for a 3. Obviously, this stuff doesn't really show up in the box score or the usage rates, but it just conveys a level of competence in orchestrating the offense at the highest level. So when you put all this together, the Finnish guard kind of profile should start to make sense, right? So we're not looking at isolation usage or inflated stats. We want to try and identify the processing speed, the functional shooting volume, and then just the composure that they have when they're facing longer guys. So Heinonen's film, I thought, really showed early flashes of those traits, while Abbey and Little kind of demonstrated how that foundation can translate over to the Power 6 level. So as Finland kind of continues refining this development model, these particular guards really offer a much clearer window into how the country's pathway produces players that college staffs can actually evaluate and increasingly trust. So that's pretty much it for this. I am going to do a longer kind of think piece, I guess you could call it, and I'm going to put it on the website. But until then, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next flight.